Okay, Olawumi, over to you.
Go ahead. Thank you so much, Sasha. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. This is the fourth webinar in the series, and we are so glad that today we're having panelists from countries around the world and not just Africa, and we'll be learning a lot from them. And we would like to extend Thanksgiving to the KCOA project by GIZ for this great opportunity they've given to us to be able to host this webinar. And now we have interpreters who could interpret the session for us in French. We are very grateful. And to my co-facilitator from South Africa that we've been able to partner together and put together this webinar series. I'm very grateful, Sasha, and to the PGS South Africa as a team. Thank you everyone for joining today. I hope that we're going to have a good session. And please feel free to use the Q&A tab. And as the panelists are presenting, please feel free to put in your questions there. And when it's time to raise your hands for questions, go ahead and raise your hands for questions, and we'll be glad. And all unanswered questions, we will definitely put them together, and we have a column on the recording page to put all the answers for you. Thank you and welcome to today's webinar once again. And I say thank you to all our panelists. Thank you so much. Over to you, Sasha.
Thank you, Olawumi, for picking up the stage. So yes, I would like to just briefly talk about the session for today. So, you know, in looking at the PGS practice on the continent, what is coming very clear is that there's a huge demand for certification of agro-processed production. Most of the PGS groups that are operating on the continent have got a primary focus on primary production, fresh vegetable, fresh fruits, animal production. And some PGS groups are very much now evolving towards understanding better how we can go ahead with doing PGS certification applied to agro-processing. Now, this comes with its own set of challenges, specific expertise that might be required, some complexity around the ingredients, what is permissible, this ratio calculation. So these are all very technical elements. And for the South African context, certainly we are now at a stage where we are wondering whether this type of certification can actually be onboarded by a PGS group. And if so, you know, what are the skilling requirements and how is it actually possible in practice? So we looked far and wide for speakers who could speak about this. And interestingly, case studies and good practice from Asia have come to the forth. And we have with us today Jeong Moon from South Korea and Jintana Idramongala from Thailand. He will be sharing their experiences within their respective PGSs. We also have a very interesting case study from Benin. I haven't seen our Edgar joining us yet, but hopefully he will be joining to share the experience in Benin. And we also have Matthew Perkins lined up. We will be speaking about the efforts underway within PGS South Africa. So with no further ado, I would like to invite Jeong Moon from the Hans Salim PGS to open a mic and make her presentation. The Hans Salim PGS is actually a world acclaimed model when it comes to participatory approaches with a very strong emphasis on enrolling consumers as well. So I'm hoping that you can speak a bit about that aspect and if it's applicable to this specific case study. And like indicated in the brief, do not hesitate to become technical. We need to understand the technical challenges and what is required to actually make this feasible within our respective contexts. And yeah, I think maybe go ahead with briefly introducing yourself first, Jeong. Okay, over to you. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Sasha, for the nice introduction about Hans Salim and me. And thank you, everyone, for your passion, practicing and talking about PGS. And thank you so much for inviting me to this precious webinar today. I'd like to share my slide first. Well, yes. My name is Ji Young Moon, and I'm working for Hansalim, an organic food cooperative in Korea. And I would like to make a brief presentation about how Hansalim deepens the relationship between farmers and consumers through PGS and maintains the value of organic agriculture. Before the presentation, I'd like to introduce the first newsletter of Hansalim. Hansalim started from December 1986. So this newsletter is published the following year after the open of Hansalim first shop. And the word it says in this newsletter means farmers take charge of consumers' life and consumers take charge of farmers' living. And this is well containing the basic orientation of Hansalim movement. Since Hansalim is a cooperative, producers and consumers are sharing the meaning of organic food together, and we're trying to achieve the goal of how we can make a beautiful world through expanding the organic agriculture in Korea. And from this word, we can see that the Hansalim's organic agriculture business is not just a business, but it's also trying to making a relationship between farmers and consumers. This is the current status of Hansalim. It's a map of South Korea. And there are about 865,000 households of consumer members at the number of year 2023 May. And there are 239 shops and 31 consumers cooperatives is under Hansalim Cooperative, which means Hansalim is covering entire Korea right now. We have a big consumer group supporting this organic agriculture business. And in the other hand, there is also farmer members, we call it producer, and there are about 2,260 households of farmers are under the name of Hansalim. And we can say there are about 125 producers community. Since we are trying to make a relationship, not just between farmers and consumers, but also among the farmers, Hansalim farmers should develop production community as working as a Hansalim farmer. And this is a picture of Hansalim's General Assembly. General Assembly is the highest decision-making body of Hansalim because we are cooperative. And it held once a year, consists of 211 delegates. And among them, consumer delegates are 184 and farmer delegates are 20. And there are 5 other delegates who are deciding the important operation direction of Hansalim. And in the other hand, we are operating product committee. This is a picture of agriculture committee, consists of farmers and consumers together. So you can see there are farmers sitting down on this side and consumer delegates are sitting on this side. And there are staff who are working on the numbers and statistics working on this side. So farmers, consumers are meeting together every month. And we're talking about what price and what amount of production will be done by Hansalim Cooperative together. And not just making deliberation on price or amount, urban-rural exchange activity is actively done by consumers and farmers. Due to COVID-19, the number of consumers participating in this urban-rural exchange activity has decreased, but we are expecting to increase again since COVID-19 is getting decreased these days. And the reason we are doing this is because we believe when farmers meet consumers in face-to-face, that can make a genuine trust and relationship between both of them. So this is a basic construction of how Hansalim works. So based on this relationship and decision-making and deliberation of the product price and amount all together done by farmers and consumers are the base of how Hansalim works. And of course, it's based on organic food. So based on this relationship, we could develop PGS on top of it. Hansalim participatory certification based on mutual trust between consumer and producer. As mentioned earlier, there's no more effective way to build trust and relationship than producers and consumer meet each other face to face. And Hansalim believe trust and relationship can ensure the authentication of the certification, because we believe certification is not the certification, but it's way of making people meet in person. And these are the products produced by Hansalim. When Hansalim first started in 1986 December, there was no national organic certification system in Korea. But Hansalim farmers have been doing organic farming from 1986 since there were no national certification. So the national organic certification was introduced at 1997. So Hansalim farmers also began to follow the national system. However, we thought national certification is only based on the presence or absence of the chemical substance. And this is really not containing the true meaning and trustee of the farmers who are working really hard to do organic farming in Korea. So Hansalim people thought maybe PGS can really guarantee the value and philosophy of organic agriculture based on the trust between farmers and consumers, which we really trying to achieve from the very first start of Hansalim. And this is the process of the Hansalim certification. The first, Hansalim production community apply for the Hansalim participatory certification. And the step number 2, autonomous management is done by the farmers. Autonomous management is the word peer review in the PGS sector, but in Hansalim we call it autonomous management, autonomously managed by farmers themselves. And then step number 3, autonomous check is done by consumers and staff. So basically done by the farmers, and then consumer staff join together and really check, is this organic farming really done by organic way? And the step number 4, autonomous check is also done in the field. And the step number 5, there's a participatory certification deliberation committee operated by Hansalim farmers, consumers, and staff together. And this community sit on the table and talk about all the papers and the fields that is this organic farming has been done in organic way based on the promise between farmers and consumers. And then we give Hansalim participatory certification to the farmer. And then the step number 6, if there's some things to be more developed, farmers follow up the management. And let me show you some pictures of what Hansalim farmers are doing based on this Hansalim participatory certification steps. The producers community, the farmers community is being trained in this picture. Farmers learn why participation certification is necessary in Hansalim. So they're trying to put efforts to put value of trust and relationship in the product through participatory certification. And after they get trained, these farmers gather together in a community level and review what needs to be checked in order to receive participatory certification. And farmers need to check themselves, and we call it autonomous check. So when they are doing peer reviews, doing autonomous management by themselves, this also can be the really good opportunity for farmers to look around each other's production sites and learn from each other. Since farmers have different farming experiences, junior farmers can learn a lot from senior farmers, and senior farmers also can give teaching to the junior farmers, but also they can learn some new technologies from the junior farmers. So this stable production management can be achieved by community-based managing production together. And staff from Hansalim headquarters is also supporting in technological way. And consumers also visit the farming site and confirm this participatory certification is doing in a well way. And this is an autonomous check done by the farmers and consumers, staff together. So before visiting the farming site, this autonomous check team, the farmer, consumer, and staff sat on the table together, and they confirm all the paper jobs done by the farmers and check natural pesticides or any kind of confirmed fertilizer has been used. So they do the paper job first. And these are the papers we use. This is a document on the use of agricultural materials of Hansalim farmers. So we can see all the agricultural materials were used, is transparently disclosed, opened to the consumers and staff through this paper. And this is a picture of farming diary. You can see the date here, and they see what has been done and the status of the crops. And this farming diary is recorded by the farmers, and the farmers recorded every day the weather condition and what task has been done by the farmers. So these diaries are also checked by the consumers and staff together, so we can share about the situation of the farming site. Korea recently, maybe you check the news, Korea recently has a huge flood happened. So most of the Hansalim farmhouse was also flooded by this big rain. So when we check this farming diary together by consumers and farmers, we can predict what can be happen. And we can also talk about what should be prepared to cope with this climate crisis these days. And some farming diaries are not written in this paper like this. Some are written by the smartphone, the mobile phone these days. There are young farmers and some farmers who tend to use this mobile, the smart technology thing, whether record on the paper, tend to do this. And we all share these diaries together. And this is a picture from actually 2 years. There was no rain on the field. And this kind of climate condition making farming more difficult. So farmers and consumers always share the difficulties of the field together and discuss how to solve these issues together. Since there was a heavy rain in Korea these days, so Hansalim just decided to make a fundraising campaign from next week. So when consumers and farmers are checking the production condition and the climate condition regularly, we can understand how it is difficult to maintaining organic agriculture and sustain it in the field. So we can determine to process a fundraising campaign right away or not. And after all this production check has been done by farmers at the first step, and the consumers and staff together by the second and third step, the consumer members who join this PGS process come back to the city consumption area and they do the promotion in their sites. This is a picture of one of Hansalim shop, and there are consumer members who are promoting Hansalim PGS system and certification to the other consumer members who doesn't know much about it. So front of the shop, they display the Hansalim PGS certified vegetables, and tell other consumer members what's the meaning of PGS certification and what's the difference between national organic certification and PGS certification to the other consumer members. And they're trying to promote other consumer members to buy more PGS certified product, and also trying to solve, actually there's no difference between organic national certified and PGS certified among the process of doing organic farming. Only difference is just where do the farmers get the certification? Is it from the government or from the farmers and consumers of ourselves? So this was the basic process of how Hansalim PGS is working under Hansalim. Consumers, farmers always check together, sharing situation together, and talk about the current status. So promoting to buy more products, and if the climate crisis happens, the production is not that much high, then we try to figure out how to preserve the income of farmers. And not just the PGS, we also do some social campaigns together, and I will show you some pictures about the social campaigns managed by farmers and consumers together later on. And this is the logo of Hansalim participation certification.
Sorry, Ji-Young, just a quick heads up on time.
Yes.
3.5 minutes left, and we're just keen to see your input with regards to agro-processing specifically.
Right. Thank you for reminding me 3.5 minutes left. So
Okay.
there are 3 steps divided under Hansalim participant certification: level 1, 1 fruit, level 2, 2 fruits, and level 3, 3 fruits. Since the climate crisis, the weather gets really crazy. So sometimes we only cannot depend on organic agriculture technology these days. So under the promise and confirmation between farmers and consumers, for the some step, we allow farmers to use some very small amount of permitted chemicals and some permitted chemical fertilizer. Of course, we are strictly checking the residue of the produce, but the way we are permitting farmers to use a little amount of this one is because we want farmers to sustain organic agriculture, and we believe this kind of process can make farmers to move on to organic level more easily. And since there's a promise, the consumers are willing to buy this level 1 fruit participatory certified product too. Since there are 125 production community in Hansalim, but still only 48 production community is doing participatory certification in Hansalim. But we believe if there's a relationship between consumers and farmers, we can expand participatory certification in Hansalim more in the future. And these are small photos which I like to show you in year 2023. And just let you know, all the photos from now on is all taken by me, because I was also at this demonstration. This is a photo of a public rally asking for no GMO in Korea, because the Korean government is trying to import more GMOs into Korea. So maybe you can recognize Hansalim flags here, and they are the Hansalim consumers and farmers all sitting on the street asking for no more GMOs and full-length GMO labeling law in Korea. So this kind of social campaigns are also done by consumers and farmers together. And this is what written in Korean word: we are Hansalim farmers, 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 farmers. And we believe this kind of meetings and experiences and chances to let consumers and farmers always meet together and checking what kind of value and what kind of philosophy which we are aiming for under the name of organic agriculture, research to the deepening of relationships and trust between them. And this can be the key element of guarantee the trust on PGS. So back again, I like to put emphasis on Hansalim's the basic slogan: farmers take charge of consumers' life and consumers take charge of farmers' living. And under this slogan, farmer and consumer can combine together and work as a same stakeholder who wants to sustain organic agriculture in Korea. Thank you. I'm done. And I'm waiting for all the questions about Hansalim PGS thing. Thank you for listening.
Okay, Ji-young, thank you very much. I'm sorry, I think my line might not be very good. So if there's interference, please excuse me. Just for the benefit of those needing interpretation, you go to the bottom of your screen and you click onto the little globe, and it will activate the interpretation in French or in English for you. So I'm hoping everybody managed to do this. I'm going to switch off my video because I see my connection is slow. We want to open for some question time. Ji-young, thank you very much for this input. We just didn't hear much about the specific work that you're doing in terms of certifying agro-processed produce. So you mentioned the 3 types of label that you use to entice farmers into a progressive system of 1 leaf, 2 leaves, 3 leaves. But you know, does Hansalim certify transformed products? Yogurt, preserves, any agro-processing. Is this the same principle? Because you've detailed what primary certification was about, but this session is specifically about agro-processing and the technicalities thereof. So can you maybe expand a little bit and just present on that specifically? Because I think that's what people will want to ask you about.
Thank you, Sasha. Thank you for the question. Still, we started Hansalim PGS from 2018. So it has been only 5 years. Of course, it can be a long year, but compared to the Hansalim's actual history, 5 years is still short, and we are trying to expand and give more understanding on this. So we only do the produce at this moment. So the photo I show you at the presentation is entire product of Hansalim. It's about 2,500 at this moment. So we have planned to expand PGS to the processed food and the other things, all to the Hansalim. But at this moment, we're only doing for the produce. Do I make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, apologies. I thought I thought you would be expanding on agro-processing because it's the purpose of the session. But nonetheless, I think, let us take 3-4 minutes to look at your labeling system, because I think, people who want to bounce off this, it's very interesting that you have on an organic label actually permissible use of chemicals, be it in the form of fertilizers and pesticides, I assume. So I think that is very interesting. We understand that you want to keep the farmers on board and encourage them to take the next steps. But it's a little bit controversial as well. Well, because,
Yes.
What's permissible, what are the substances, where are the transparency checks, the elements where the consumer can actually see, okay, well, 1 leaf, what type of chemical exposure am I opening myself to? So yeah, that would be my question, and then I'll be quiet for other people to come in.
Exactly. Should I answer now? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I forgot to give a brief introduction about Korean National Organic Certification System. Korean Organic Certification System is divided in 3 steps: organic and non-pesticide and low pesticide. Actually, low pesticide has been abolished. So now we only have organic and non-pesticide. So in Korea, we call it eco-friendly certification system. So it's a little bit different from other countries. And when we say organic certification, it's same as organic certification global standard. But when we say non-pesticide certification, this allows, permits to use 1/3 of chemical chemical fertilizer in the field, but no chemical inputs. I mean the
you.
pesticides, but the low low pesticide certification, which has been abolished from the government certification, that's the level 1, the one fruit in Hansalin PGS. And the reason we are maintaining this is only for the fruits, because Korea, the weather condition is so humid and so super hot sometimes, but so humid in the summer season, which is very no good condition for growing fruits, especially the peaches and watermelons, who needs to have more waters and sugar inside. So in this kind of fruit variety only, we allow farmers to use some permitted amount of chemical. Since this is not working, then it's almost impossible to grow fruits in this kind of weather condition. But still, there are many organic farmers who are working on the new technology to convert to the organic. So we are encouraging this so-called low pesticide using farmers to convert to the organic farmers. So to giving them the chance of converting themselves to the organic, we are allowing them to use permitted amount of the chemicals. So this is not for the long time. This is only for the conversion and giving chance farmers to try. We believe you can be the organic farmer, but we know it's really hard to under the weather condition of Korea. So we can guarantee the market for you. So try on to convert to the organic. So that's why we are dividing these 3. And the standard of basic is exactly same as National Organic Certification Standard, but we are trying to put more added value on it. Let's say making relationship between consumers and farmers, and let farmers making their own farmers community, etc. Do I make sense?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for that feedback. It's a very interesting approach. Knowing basically that in conversion allows the use of external inputs and is clearly communicated to your consumer, and that's your way of having the process, gain maturity. I'm just going to cut it now on the question time because I want to make time for the next speakers. Can I just ask you, Solong, Ji-Young, to go to the Q&A tab, and there are questions addressed to you there. If you can please type your answer so that the people are not left wanting, and we'll come back to the session in the plenary if we've got enough time. Thank you so much for this. I would like now to go to our next panelist. Maybe we can have a slideshow going already. Our next panelist is Jintana. Jintana hails from Thailand, and I believe that there is quite a track record of doing agro-processing certification in Thailand. So Jintana, do you want to perhaps screen share your presentation so that we can make sure that it's all working?
Yes.
And Jintana, I think before we go ahead with your presentation, just say a few words about yourself and your involvement in the organic movement in Thailand, and then you can please go ahead with your presentation.
Okay. Good afternoon. And in my country, it's good evening. So it's I'm very glad to see you all of you here. Thank you for Shasha, PGS South Africa, to invite me for sharing experience here. So who are we? We are TOF PGS. TOF PGS stands for Thailand Organic Agriculture Foundation. We established since 2012. Founder of foundation is by experienced official in organic agriculture from government agency from university, from private sector, from farmer as a volunteer to help the farmer to build a PGS group. We are non-profit organization. Its a major objective is focusing on center of coordination of all stakeholder concerned, including research and development of organic agriculture. And the core process is collaborate and link among government agency, private sector, and organic farming to set up organic PGS movement. Organic PGS in Thailand is start from during 2015. ADB is Asian Development Bank, and MOAC is a Ministry of Agriculture Cooperative by Land Development Department incorporated with TOF. Launched the project promoting participatory guarantee system for small-scale organic farming in Thailand. The objective is to explore and develop PGS as a means of organic guarantee for local consumption in the Greater Mekong sub-region, and to set up 5 demonstration PGS initiative groups, and to understand how the PGS system works. After that, PGS is multi-sectoral collaboration. We have to work with the farmer group and work with the other local stakeholder, just like local government, local extension worker or consultant in the local level that help the farmer to be a PGS. And sometimes we conclude with the consumer, and by myself is a TOF, is a organization for the group to be organic certification. Is the main activity of TOF PGS is technical assistance to the producer to assist them to set up PGS initiative by providing training courses and organize PGS process, approve group certification, just like in the slide at the farmer group. We educate them and encourage them to be organic farming, and just like this one is budget from the local government that have a policy to expand organic farming to the small farmer and make a small farmer have a chance to enter to the new market. We have training course, training for the trainer, training local government official to be as facilitator of produce groups, and at the same time we have a training group leader how PGS work and how to manage the group, and another course is training volunteer farmer to act as organic farm peer reviewer, and we provide monitor and evaluation at the farmer group. For the 5 years result from our activity with the farmer group, we have an annual certified group now. We have scattered in the whole country with 25 PGS operational group and about 800 subgroups with 20,000 farm per year and certified farm about 2,000 per year. For the market channel, the farmer group have a local and domestic market. The produce is mainly is rice, vegetable, fruit, herb, and coffee. TLF PGS we encourage farmer to follow.
Chintana,
Okay.
sorry, just to let you know, you've got 9 minutes. And I think let us focus on the certification of agro-processing, because we are very familiar with the content of the PGS key elements. We've covered this extensively in the previous webinars. So I would
Okay.
encourage you to just focus on the technical aspects linked to agro-processing, if you don't mind. And I'm really sorry for interrupting your flow.
Okay, we will skip this chart, this PGS step. We will skip that. That is, we work with the small farmer group have to clearly define structure and document the system by active participation of producer in activity group, meeting, peer review, decision making, and this another thing is open farm to all involved. This is a picture from the local farmer. They include the trader and some from a hotel and some from consumer from hotel and from the local market due to carry a inspector together. And it's a happy time for the farmer. It has a good partnership and ownership of them. So knowledge building can be set at the farm level while they have a peer review process. The group consensus group voting to verify farmer as organic farm and TLF grant certificate to them. And this one is the question for this seminar is a processing and handling method for the PGS group. Just like example of a PGS group is they have a group of a farmer initiative from many villages to group together, and they can have a processing group, a collective produce, and to be and sometimes they will have operator to be a cooperative and community enterprise, just like farmer group certify only the producer at the farm, primarily at the farm site, but at the sale price, that at the sale they can have a right grain, so they have a 2 step to process this one. This is a PGS certified group, farmer group, but at operator, they can have a operator such as to form a cooperative of this group to have a share the product and gather the produce to the rice mill and packaging at the farm and can be sent to the trader or company to they can have a logo of PGS, and sometimes they can the operator use GMP produce, GMP good manufacturing practice for the
It looks fantastic.
So in Tatisi,
Yeah.
can you please mute all the attendees?
This facility will be granted by the local government to empowering community to access more the market, just like this. And that they can have a fresh delivery car to connect to direct to the consumer to make sure that it's the product is food safety for food safety condition of the product. And moreover, that they can have a small and medium size homemade and direct sale to the farmer. The farmer can do process the product just like sugarcane juice, soybean paste, and soy sauce, and they can but PGS certification only the primary product, but and processing the farmer can do by themselves and can explain to the consumer face to face to consumer at the farmer market, right? So this is for processing product and handling. And our PGS is promote local consumption at the farmer market, face to face from farmer to the consumer, and touch each other by the story behind the PGS group. And some group sent to the hospital and the school. They have a collective produce from the farmer and have a platform to link producer and consumer together. And another thing is a local economic for small production and consumption that farmer direct to consumer. The last is a lesson learned from our 10 year for PGS setting for PGS setting initiative. PGS is just not like certified system, but capacity building of a community. And PGS is as a tool for collecting action, bringing our stakeholders around food chain come together to develop healthy, sustainable alternative food system. PGS is not one size fits all. It depends on their socio-economic resource, tradition, context of the group. This is the ideal type of success group for PGS group community. Our T of PGS help to the farmer to be self-reliant, not waiting for government, and they have a business farmer and connect to the market, and direct sale is to consumer is the behavior of a PGS initiative group. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Chintana. I just wanted to say you have 30 seconds to wrap. Oh, fantastic. Okay, great timekeeping. Thank you for this presentation and yeah, unpacking how your PGS has been functioning and showing where government is involved in the good management practices. I think we should open the floor for Chintana. We've got yeah, 8 minutes or so for question time. If there's not, you can drop it either in the Q&A or you can just raise your hand and we will invite you to speak and open your mic. For me, Chintana, I would like to ask you to just expand a little bit on how the packing house model operates and, you know, the certification of the agro-processed products. It seems that it involves the government overseeing the good management practices. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes, it's a packing house. It is government donated to the group, and the group should have to identify to follow organic production for handling, for processing and handling. Too, yeah.
Thank you. I see someone open their mic. Leticia, did you want to speak? Okay, and I see so long that there have been some questions in the Q&A that were addressed to Jeong that have been answered. Okay, if there's no further questions at this stage, I think we can move to our next panelist. Chintana, thank you very much for your presentation. Olawumi, I see your hand now. Do you want to come in?
Yes, I just want to ask a question from her. And the question is about, is in Thailand, in their group, is there any processor that is not a primary producer who just buy products from the group of producers and process it? How does that person link that with PGS label? Because he or she is not the primary producer.
The farmer can PGS initiative is certify only the primary product, but it's a processing product. Is if the farmer go choose control by themselves. Okay.
Okay, so if I get you right, it means as a processor, you need to be part of that farmers group.
Yes.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.
Yeah, that's an important specification to ensure that the certified process production is also locally owned. Yeah, thanks for that question, Olawumi. I think moving on, if there's no further questions, I'm monitoring hands, I don't see any hands. I'm going to ask Edgar to come forward. I'm going to move to speaking French now. So,
Sasha, there's a raised hand from Stephanie. Also.
Okay. Stephanie, go ahead with your question.
Bonjour à tous, merci beaucoup. Une question pour Chintana. I'd like to know what are the costs of the process and how these costs are covered regarding the certification, the different meetings between the consumers and the producers, and everything.
At processing,
Thank you.
the group by the operator have to follow the organic production by themselves. And another thing is they choose use GMP practice that cover with the documentation system that and something to meet the step of GMP is can control this group to follow organic production too. And if the farmer group is a small farmer group, they can do processing by themselves as a homemade. They can use a social interaction between consumer by direct sale to consumer or at the farm gate or at the farmer market. They can use trust by the consumer trust this producer by engage with the PGS initiative group like that. Okay, can you get it?
Thank you very much. Maybe I was not clear enough in my question. My question, I will try to reformulate. I was wondering how much would it cost to make all those
Stephanie, I'm so sorry. In the interest of time, Stephanie, I'm so sorry. Do you mind typing your question in the Q&A? Because we're going to be encroaching on the next session.
Yes, I already did.
Okay, so let's make sure.
I already done it. You
respond
can find it, and I will complete my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we will come back to it in the plenary session if you don't mind. I just want to make sure we don't encroach on other speakers' time for now. So let's monitor that Q&A, Jintana, if you can just see the questions in the writing and the question and answers. And we'll come back to it if we have time. Edgar, vous avez été très patient. Merci beaucoup. I'm going to switch to French now to introduce Edgar. So for the Francophones in the room.
Oui, bonjour. Bonjour tout le monde.
Bienvenue Edgar.
Je peux partager mon écran?
Oui, allez-y, partagez votre écran. Je veux juste clarifier quelque chose pour l'interprétariat. So for those needing French interpretation, you will see there's a little planet icon at the bottom of your screen saying interpretation. Click there and you will get the benefit of Edgar's input in English. Edgar, bienvenue. Allez-y, activez votre partage d'écran et je vais vous présenter en attendant. Voilà, donc Edgar, en fait, est l'animateur principal du système SPG Bénin. Et bon, il a bénéficié de beaucoup de formations par des entités qui sont engagées dans l'appui au bio et au SPG en Afrique, y compris Helvetas Bénin, AFM Organics International et la GIZ. Et actuellement, vous êtes en fait chargé de projets en vue d'appuyer les producteurs dans l'approvisionnement des fruits et des végétaux certifiés SPG Bénin. C'est le projet Frais Bio. Vous allez nous en dire plus et j'espère bien sûr focaliser particulièrement votre représentation sur la certification des produits transformés. Edgar, merci beaucoup d'être avec nous aujourd'hui et on vous écoute avec plaisir.
On n'entend plus rien. Hein?
En fait, c'est à vous. Hein? Allez-y.
Yes.
Allez-y, Edgar, le micro est à vous.
D'accord. Donc, ma présentation... Sorry. Allô?
On vous entend bien, Edgar. Allez-y.
OK. Donc, je disais, ma présentation parlera beaucoup plus de la transformation des produits bio. Donc, je vais gagner du temps pour ne plus parler donc de la certification des produits bio SPG. Voilà le plan de présentation en 10 points. Alors, la première partie, c'est de préciser que nous avons démarré au Bénin le SPG en 2012. C'est la société AMAP Bénin qui était la première à être certifiée au Bénin et en Afrique de l'Ouest. Pour la facilitation et l'accompagnement du SPG au niveau du Bénin est assuré par Hortitech Développement ONG. L'organisation nationale qui porte le SPG au niveau du Bénin pour le moment est la FIPRO Bénin. Alors, quelques chiffres rapidement. Nous avons au total 742 acteurs engagés dans le SPG et nous avons 730 agriculteurs et 12 unités de transformation. Oui, on a 45 groupes de contrôle à la base. « 15 bureaux locaux de coordination. Nous avons un comité national de régulation et d'évaluation. Et avec 20 chaînes de valeur et au niveau donc de la production et 16 chaînes de valeur au niveau de la transformation. Alors, l'environnement du SPG Bénin se compose comme suit. Donc, l'environnement se compose donc de cahiers de charge, de logo SPG, système de gestion des documents, l'engagement pour la déclaration des producteurs. Il y a les conséquences et les sanctions. Nous avons également un guide de certification. Et nous avons un logo certifié au SPG Bénin. Vous voyez à l'écran donc le logo donc, du SPG Bénin. Alors, au niveau de la transformation des produits bio, nous avons une double certification. Il y a la certification du produit bio par le SPG et il y a l'agence gouvernementale qui certifie, qui donne l'autorisation de mise sur le marché. Ça là, vous avez à l'écran quelques conditions pour pouvoir adhérer et certifier votre produit transformé. Entre autres conditions, il faut avoir un contrat de fourniture de matières premières certifié au SPG. Vous devez disposer également d'infrastructures, de matériel qui soient aux normes. Il faut utiliser également des emballages en verre. Mais s'engager à respecter les dispositions du cahier de charge SPG. Alors, vous voyez un peu à l'écran la chronologie des activités pour certifier les produits transformés. Il y a la formation des transformateurs. Donc, on les forme sur le SPG et sur le processus de transformation. Il y a la constitution du fonctionnement des groupes de contrôle. Il y a la constitution également des bureaux locaux de coordination. Pour faire les enquêtes, on forme des trinômes d'enquête. Oui, les trinômes sont composés de 2 transformateurs et 1 consommateur. Après cela, on organise les enquêtes dans les unités de transformation. De l'autre côté, on accueille donc l'inspection de l'ABSSA. Les inspections de l'ABSSA et c'est l'ABSSA qui fait la 2e certification. Après cela, on délivre les certificats SPG aux unités de transformation. Et on procède à la délivrance donc des attestations de conformité sanitaire et les autorités de mise sur le marché. À titre d'exemple, vous avez à l'écran le diagramme pour transformer la tomate en purée. Ça se passe en 12 étapes. Alors, vous avez à l'écran un exemplaire, une copie de certificat d'utilisation de la marque SPG. Ici, c'est pour le soja bio SPG. Yes. Vous avez à l'écran également une attestation de conformité sanitaire délivrée par l'Agence nationale. Et ça, par exemple, c'est pour 4 jus de fruits, ananas, baobab, gingembre et cocktail ananas-gingembre. Vous avez la première page donc, de l'autorisation de mise sur le marché pour ces 4 produits. Ça, c'est la dernière page donc, de l'autorisation de mise sur le marché pour les 4 jus de fruits. Alors, quelques recommandations. Il faut s'assurer que les matières premières sont issues de l'agriculture biologique. Il faut former et recycler les transformateurs sur l'hygiène et la HACCP. Nous formons et on recycle régulièrement également les transformateurs sur le remplissage des outils de traçabilité.
Hey.
Il faut accompagner également les transformateurs à disposer de matériel et équipements aux normes. Il faut accompagner également les transformateurs à disposer de bâtiments et infrastructures aux normes. Il faut conseiller également sur les emballages appropriés à utiliser. Alors ça, là, c'est quelques photos. Là, c'est le tri de la tomate. Là, c'est le lavage de la tomate. Ici, ils sont en train d'enlever les graines de la tomate. Ici, ils sont en train de faire donc de l'étiquetage de la tomate. Et là, la tomate est prête pour aller au marché. Merci beaucoup.
Ok, merci beaucoup, Edgar. Je me suis rendu compte un peu tardivement que, en fait, vous étiez pas dans la version originale de l'audio et donc du coup, ça fait un décalage avec vos contributions parce que vous attendiez la fin de l'interprétariat et c'était pas nécessaire. Donc, pardon qu'on vous ait pas arrêté avant. Mais en tout cas, c'était bien parce que ça a permis un interprétariat clair et on est dans les temps. Donc, merci beaucoup hein, d'avoir expliqué ces processus. C'est vraiment le genre de travail qui nous intéresse énormément. Donc, moi, j'ai des questions, mais je voudrais inviter en fait les participants à poser leurs questions. Oui, que ce soit au niveau de votre organisation, soit au niveau vraiment du processus de certification, de la transformation à proprement parler. Donc, est-ce qu'il y a des questions qu'on voudrait adresser à Edgar? Alors, je vois quelqu'un, Hensoa, j'imagine que vous êtes de Madagascar. Si vous pouvez vous présenter brièvement et poser votre question.
Oui, bonjour. Effectivement, je suis de Madagascar. Je suis un chef de service d'appui à l'agriculture biologique au sein du ministère de l'Agriculture et de l'Élevage. Tout d'abord, merci pour la présentation. Ma question de votre présentation, que pour les accompagner, pour disposer de ces équipements aux normes. Merci.
Alors, Edgar, pour répondre, il faut juste que vous vous mettiez, que vous sortiez du volet interprétariat. Edgar,
Je n'entends pas bien la question.
en fait, c'est parce que vous êtes dans le volet interprétation. Appuyez sur votre icône en bas de votre écran où il y a la petite planète. Allez sur votre écran et sortez de l'interprétariat pour retourner dans l'audio, en fait. Donc, vous allez cliquer sur l'icône de la planète et vous allez dans Original Audio. Et comme ça, vous pourrez entendre directement la personne qui s'est exprimée en français. Et si vous avez besoin de l'interprétariat, vous cliquez en anglais. Il me semble que la question qui vous a été posée, parce que moi, j'ai eu une interférence audio, était quels sont les appuis, en fait, qui sont mis en place pour la mise en place de ces unités. Je ne sais pas si vous voulez reprendre la question pour le bénéfice d'Edgar, Hensoa, juste pour qu'il réponde bien à votre question.
Oui, d'accord. Ma question est de savoir, comme vous avez présenté tout à l'heure, que le SPG Bénin accompagne les producteurs à disposer des équipements et matériels aux normes. Donc, ma question est comment cela se fait? Est-ce que le SPG dispose de moyens pour équiper directement les producteurs ou comment est-ce que le système est mis en place pour, dans le cadre de cet accompagnement? Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Oui, en fait, au Bénin, il y a des gens qui sont généralement des femmes qui sont spécialisées dans la transformation des produits agroalimentaires en général et les produits bio en particulier. Quand je prends par exemple le cas de AMAP Bénin, il y a un groupement de 34 femmes qui sont spécialisées dans la transformation des produits certifiés bio-SPG. Et ces 34 femmes-là transforment essentiellement les légumes, les fruits, c'est ça, non, les légumes et les fruits. Ça, là, c'est par exemple dans le sud du Bénin. quand je prends le nord du Bénin, nous avons notre groupement donc, de 33 femmes, mais qui transforment uniquement le soja. Et ils transforment le soja en simples produits dérivés. Oui, donc les dérivés, il y a l'huile de soja, il y a biscuit de soja, fromage de soja. Oui, et puis il y a aussi des farines de soja pour faire la bouillie aux enfants. Et donc pour ces groupes, oui. Donc pour ces groupements, nous les formons, on les équipe. Donc, et le soja OSPG dans un magasin spécialisé. De la même façon, le matériel, l'unité de transformation est prévue également pour transformer le soja toute l'année en simples dérivés. Voilà ce que je peux dire par rapport à cette question.
Alors, Edgar, on voit que vous entendez l'interprétariat en anglais et que ça vous empêche de bien parler rapidement. Vous m'entendez là, Edgar? Donc, ce qu'il faudrait, c'est que vous remettiez dans l'original, dans l'audio original pour justement ne plus avoir cette interférence et que vous puissiez parler sans interférence de la traduction. Ce que je voudrais... Ouais, c'est bon?
Let me try.
Et donc, en fait, juste pour rebondir sur cette question qui était quels est spécifiquement les appuis qui sont donnés, on voit que les femmes qui sont spécialisées en quelque sorte dans une transformation donnée, c'est des équipements très coûteux, ça j'imagine, en matière d'infrastructure. Donc, comment est-ce que vous avez pu mobiliser les financements pour mettre en place ces unités de transformation qui sont mises à disposition des groupes de transformateurs? Ça a été quoi votre mécanisme?
Très bien. Au début, les femmes qui s'intéressent à la transformation des produits bio, elles le font de façon individuelle et chacun se le fait dans son coin. Mais une fois qu'elles ont constitué des coopératives, le besoin de se conformer un peu aux règles d'hygiène, de respecter la traçabilité, a fait que nous leur avons conseillé donc, de se mettre ensemble. D'où le besoin donc, disons, de créer et de construire donc, des unités de transformation. Les unités qui sont mises en place proviennent donc de l'appui de différents partenaires. Par exemple, au sud du Bénin, c'est l'ONG Acting for Life, en partenariat avec Hortitech Développement, qui ont mis en place donc, cette unité de transformation avec un magasin de stockage des produits bio en général, les jus de fruits, les purées de tomates, purées de piments, etc. Au nord du Bénin, par exemple, dans le département des collines, c'est un consortium composé de Hortitech Développement et de AFDI. AFDI, entendez, agriculteurs français et développement international. C'est nous qui avons postulé à un appel à projet de l'Union européenne. Et donc, nous avons gagné cet appel-là. Et ça nous a permis donc de démarrer donc, ce projet-là pour mettre en place 3 unités de transformation de soja en simples produits dérivés et un magasin de stockage du soja bio. Donc, voilà 2 exemples où les partenaires sont mobilisés en consortium pour construire ces unités-là au profit des femmes transformatrices.
Merci Edgar. Donc, vous avez beaucoup capitalisé sur les appels à projets des partenaires stratégiques. Et Hortitech, c'est une entité privée, Hortitech?
Oui, Hortitech, c'est une ONG, organisation non gouvernementale béninoise, locale, et donc, mais qui travaille en consortium avec d'autres structures, des structures de recherche, d'autres ONG et même d'autres organisations professionnelles agricoles au Bénin, même en dehors du Bénin.
Bon, on est très envieux de vos infrastructures et de ce que vous avez mis en chantier. Il va falloir nous mettre en réseau là.
Merci beaucoup.
Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions pour Edgar sur cette expérience et cette expertise acquise qui est vraiment très, très intéressante? Sylvaine, ouvrez votre micro. Je vois que vous faites une contribution dans le chat par rapport à votre témoignage issu de Nature et Progrès. On a un petit peu de temps.
Je suis dans le train, donc c'est pas terrible pour le son. J'ai mis ma contribution par écrit.
D'accord. Donc voilà, par exemple, Sylvaine partageait là dans le chat que Nature et Progrès, qui est donc un des premiers SPG qui se trouve en France, a élaboré des cahiers des charges pour la bière, la lessive, la cosmétique, la transformation alimentaire, la restauration. Je le lis parce que comme ça, ce sera interprété aussi. Les artisans peuvent produire à partir des produits bio, mais pas nécessairement Nature et Progrès. Il y a un grand débat interne actuellement sur le fait qu'il y a un risque de perte de lien au sol. Ouais. C'est une thématique importante, ça, cette déconnexion potentielle. Mais les cahiers des charges, on peut peut-être aussi, je suis sûre qu'ils sont dans la sphère publique et qu'on pourrait les solliciter si on voulait regarder spécifiquement pour les différentes chaînes de valeur, quelque chose qu'on pourrait exploiter. Il y a Jean-Marie Mbarga qui nous demande quels sont les outils de suivi développés pour la traçabilité. Donc, j'imagine, Jean-Marie, que vous parlez des formulaires de questionnement, les formulaires que les trinômes, c'est ça, c'est un modèle de trinôme que vous avez. Vous avez donc deux spécialistes de la transformation et un consommateur, si je comprends bien votre modèle, qui vont sur le terrain pour pouvoir faire cette évaluation. Est-ce que c'est ça? Voilà votre question, Jean-Marie. Donc, du coup, c'est quoi l'outil qui est utilisé dans ce cadre-là, Edgar?
Oui, pour la traçabilité, de façon générale, il y a différents outils qui sont utilisés. Déjà, j'évoque au passage, pour exécuter les enquêtes, les trinômes qui sont composés de 2 transformateurs ou transformatrices et un consommateur utilisent la fiche d'enquête. Et ça leur permet donc de donner des notes à différents niveaux et après, ils font la moyenne pour dire si le transformateur ou bien la transformatrice mérite donc d'utiliser le logo SPG ou pas. Maintenant, pour ce qui est donc de l'unité de transformation, il y a une fiche de gestion de l'unité qui permet donc de voir un peu de façon claire quelles sont les matières premières qui sont utilisées, quelle quantité, quelle date la matière première est venue. Est-ce que ça provient donc de quelle ferme de production? Donc, il y a tout ce qui est donc, ce qui concerne l'unité de transformation qui sont mentionnés au quotidien dans la fiche de gestion de l'unité de transformation. Donc, je précise que de façon globale, nous avons un cahier de charges pour beaucoup de chaînes de valeur, mais chaque chaîne de valeur a une fiche de gestion de parcelles ou bien d'unité de transformation. Voilà ce que je peux dire par rapport à cet outil de traçabilité. Et je voudrais profiter en même temps, il y a des questions dans le chat, je peux y aller.
Alors, vous pouvez y aller, mais on vous demandera d'y répondre par écrit pour donner le temps à notre autre intervenant. Par contre, il y a René Eménégé qui a une question. Donc, René, on va vous octroyer l'opportunité de la dernière question orale. Et ensuite, vous pourrez répondre par écrit si vous voulez bien, Edgar. Merci beaucoup.
Ouais. OK, Sacha, merci beaucoup. C'est beaucoup plus une contribution par rapport à la question qui vient du Madagascar. D'où viennent les moyens pour l'installation des machines, les équipements, comment soutenir? À mon avis, ce n'est pas forcément aussi toujours au SPG de le faire. En fin de compte, c'est un opérateur économique qui souhaite faire ça, que ce soit un groupement de femmes accompagné par une ONG, mais au Burkina, les premiers à être certifiés dans la transformation ont été des particuliers qui avaient un projet bien clair, qui a investi à leur propre nom, avec un peu de soutien par-ci, par-là. Mais c'est des entrepreneurs qui ont rejoint le système participatif de garantie du Sénat Bio pour justement certifier leur truc de transformation. C'était juste ce commentaire comme contribution. Merci beaucoup.
Merci René, et je vous rejoins tout à fait dans cette analyse. Là où il y a une opportunité de marché, c'est les acteurs privés doivent s'en saisir. Et c'est certainement ce genre de partenariat que le SPG peut faciliter. Mais je suis d'accord, il n'est pas le tenant et l'aboutissant de tout. Je voudrais juste demander, avant de vous remercier, Edgar, si vous êtes disposé à partager avec nous les fichiers qui sont utilisés à titre informatif, ou peut-être si des gens veulent s'en inspirer en matière de certification. Est-ce que c'est dans la sphère publique? Est-ce que c'est possible de regarder les outils de suivi qui sont utilisés?
Bien sûr, il n'y a pas de souci par rapport à ça. Je pourrais partager avec plaisir avec vous et vous pourriez distribuer à votre tour avec tous les participants à la réunion.
C'est très gentil. Écoutez, on verra avec vous comment on va faire en matière de permission et de partage. Mais en tout cas, merci beaucoup pour cette indication et pour cette contribution. Hein. Merci beaucoup. I'm going to switch back to English now to introduce our next speaker. We're doing good with time. The next speaker, yes, Matthew Perkis, my esteemed colleague from PGSSA, is joining us today. Matthew is the chairperson of PGS South Africa and has been working for a number of months now with our team on the elaboration of agro-processing assessment model. I stand to be corrected, but I think this is still work in progress, and Matthew, with his broad expertise in the organic sector, will just be talking about it and just put out there what's being done and what questions might still be outstanding for us to complete this process in South Africa. Matt, maybe you want to introduce yourself a bit more? Just tell us a bit about you, and then you can launch into your presentation.
Thank you, Sash. Good day, colleagues, and it's amazing to be in presence of such organizations like Hansalim and others. You know, I mean, the work that's happening around the world in PGS is quite phenomenal. But my name is Matthew Perkis, and as Sasha mentioned, chairman of PGS South Africa. And yeah, all very geared up towards local food systems and turning what we see globally as a very challenging situation for organic growers around through the PGS structures. So quite excited to delve in a little bit deeper. But just to reference that picture on the front there is actually a farm visit from this morning. So we're actually here in the Cape Flats of the Western Cape conducting a really great audit. And as you can see, it was very well attended. So yeah, just paying homage to everyone who attended the farm visit this morning. And I seem to have a slight lag. Just to reference the Knowledge Hub for organic agriculture in Southern Africa has really propelled us quite quickly to the space where we are looking at agro-processing in the value chain and specifically the aggregation model. There's a lot of support that has come from abroad, specifically GIZ, to allow us to scale PGS in South Africa. So just wanted to, thank GIZ there. And through the pollinator program, just a little bit of background before we get to the agro-processing. We've recently rolled out this pollinator program and completed module 2, 1, and 3. And since through that process, we've established 23 groups, most are still emerging. And of course, having the South African organic standard has been a huge catalyst in the growing demand for organic produce on a national level. And most of the PGS groups are working to the South African organic standard for production and processing. Just a piece to highlight the governance required before you even get to a point of having, aggregated value chains around your country, required to actually focus in on developing the value chains and the markets. And this is just a quick slide to showcase the 6 strategic pillars that we are currently developing as the SAOSO Foundation and the organic sector and GSA are merging to create one entity where we can really fast track and scale out the enterprises that we have established thus far. And for today's talk, we're focusing on pillar 3, which is the value chain and market development aspect of how we initiate organic agriculture in the country. And through that process of initiating value chain and market, agro-processing, of course, falls in there as one of the key elements to create more value for smaller and medium-holder farmers. And just to touch on a little bit about the roadmap towards having successful agro-processing, of course, you really are starting at frame the basics with developing your communities of practice, and we're finding that as a way to align more constituency, more farmers to PGS groups, having those communities of practice there that help assist in formalizing the PGS group as a step 2. The third step is then, of course, conducting the farm visits, making sure that the assessments are completed and the certificates are issued, as well as the logos. So we're still actually very much in that space. We're almost preempting the need for agro-processing to come into a PGS value chain, as we do have a number of producers that are agro-processing, but a lot of aggregators that are also doing agro-processing with it. And then, of course, as your supply chain matures, agro-processing opportunities emerge. So just a very high-level understanding of where we sit, and we're pretty much at step 2 and 3. So without overselling what we're doing. And there we go. And we're not going to spend too much time on the slide, but this is just one of the knowledge products that was developed. As you can see, this is a really interesting flow chart as to how we can really use this tool to create more advocacy and awareness around PGS at market. And as we know, the more consumers that are starting to demand organic, the agro-processed goods will follow. So we currently, agro-processing kind of fits in between step 4, 5, and 6, and really having that trust around it aspect of a sustainable value chain. And as we know, anyone who's working in PGS, results take consistency. You really have to be consistent with your farm visits, feeding information through to the farmer groups, really developing a family, if you like, within your PGS group that can allow for all the farmers to rise up and hopefully get to that point where they can do value addition in their own value chains as PGS, because that can lead to sustainability. And just on that photo on the bottom right-hand side there, you see that's one of the community of practice days that were hosted. I'm actually at the farm that we certified today, so that's a great way to close the loop. But now just getting into the technicalities of where we are within PGS now. These are the 2 labels that we are issuing. One is PGS in conversion, and we are being quite enabling for farmers to start making the transition to more ecological production practices through utilizing that PGS in conversion label. And then, of course, the one on the right-hand side is the PGS organic, which is the label that we are really trying to push most of our farmers to get to. But just to note that these 2 labels are almost in our developmental phase, because even though PGS started in 2005, really at the Bryanston Organic Market here, the scaling of PGS in South Africa is very recent. It's only been like really 3 years down the line. So we've warranted these 2 labels as our developmental space, where we're working consistently with farmers to get their best practices in place, to conduct regular farm assessments, and then also to have a label that they can start differentiating themselves at the market. These other 2 labels here, when we go through the step process, the only way that we're actually feeling quite comfortable to issue a label around agro-processed goods is once you get to step 5, you're deemed almost like a mature PGS supply chain. You've got a lot of documented evidence around governance within your PGS group, and that governance being very, very important to make sure that the traceability and the trust and the horizontality and the ethics of PGS are well instilled in the group before we can start looking at agro-processing. So that step 5 label there, which is the South African PGS certified, it actually says certified now, label over there is issued on the agro-processing goods. No one's there yet, So this is still very much an inception and pipeline planning, but we are, like I said, trying to preempt the need for agro-processed goods to enter market. This would be the certificate that we issue to the farmers that are doing agro-processed goods, as well as their general produce that comes off their production facility. But yeah, you can see we've put a bit of extra effort into making sure that the farmer actually has a really nice, beautiful certificate to showcase the way that they are farming, as different from the conventional farmers, which pretty much overrun our agricultural system here, but we're gaining ground. And then just to highlight where we are with some of the technicalities around agro-processing in the PGS value chain. Most of the farmers that are agro-processing surplus have an aggregated value chain. So what that means is that they're aggregating from either non-certified or even conventional farmers into their pack shed or agri-hub. And that's where that surplus is actually agro-processed. So it does bring quite a lot of risk into the value chain without clear traceability and batch codes and labeling. So we really are tentatively feeding our way into that space where agro-processing can be traceable and trustworthy. But what we are experiencing here is that aggregated value chain is certainly a risk. The PGS groups that are advanced enough for agro-processing, the reality is that the capacity is limited to certify PGS complex agro-processed goods. So that's products with more than 5 ingredients in. So we're seeing that there is a need for further capacity development within the country that allows the PGS assessors or the pollinators themselves to actually have that confidence and skill set to be offering the certification into the value chain. Sourcing certified organic inputs for agro-processing such as sugar, vinegar, and olive oil are quite challenging and often come at a bit more of a premium price, which then takes those agro-processed goods on a price point a little bit out of reach for the informal markets and the local markets that we hope PGS to serve. So then, which is in our case dovetailing with this really robust conversation that we're having at the moment as the sector in South Africa, as to how far do we see PGS extending into formal retail. And for us, that's something that we really are grappling with, because as most developing countries, the consumer base sits in formalized retail. So if we want our farmers to get true value for the agro-processed goods, ensuring that there's a strong traceability system that allows that agro-processed goods specifically to extend into the long supply chain, because it can't get mixed up with conventional produce once it's bottled and jarred. So we are really looking at what the scope of that is to ensure that these products can find their way into a market that is receptive. Of course, food safety certification is also another cost to the processor or farmer, and we're looking at ways to bridge that cost through a collective community of practice around food safety certification. So these are some of the core challenges that we are experiencing at the moment as we envision and as we dream up these agro-processed goods entering into the market in South Africa. Again. So when we look at almost finding the middle ground for PGS and agro-processing, at the moment, similar to Hans Salim, we're focusing predominantly on the processing of fruits and vegetables in a very simplified way. But there, of course, when you start to extend into animal feeds, organic fertilizer production, mushroom cultivation, processing grains and nuts, there's huge scope for creating sustainable business models within the PGS value chain and really getting these amazingly created products from grassroots into a value chain. But because of the complexity, we want to rather move slowly than too fast. So we're looking at specifically dried fruits, grains, vegetables, and herbs, generally using the sun as our very rich natural resource in the Southern African region. really just using the sun to preserve. That's a very simple process that should be easily warranted within our certification scheme. The other bit is chopped up and spiraled vegetables and mixed salad packs. Of course, that's no additional products added to that process. So it's really just basic agro-processing. We feel very comfortable with that. So that's definitely in the category of 7. Food preservation. Basically, you know, if you look into brine olives, for example, or other brine vegetables, kimchi, sauerkrauts, those are also very easy to have a look at. You know, it's really just brine, and then often a bit of chili and some other things that you can put into preserve your food. So that's quite a safe space to play in. Then the cold pressed juices, either vegetable or fruit. We're feeling quite comfortable that you can kind of track up to that point of cold press. So that's also starting in. This is where it starts to get a little bit more complicated, even in the simplified view of agro-processing. Soup mixes, chutneys and sauces with less than 5 ingredients. So we really are looking at an enabling way, because as we know, you know, sourcing organic olive oil, for example, or organic vinegar is a bit of a challenge, and especially sugar in South Africa is one of those ones that is out of reach for most agro-processors. So how do we bridge that gap? We're looking at the ingredients list and how that can really be the foundation of looking at these slightly more complex products. Nut butters, they're pretty simple. You know, when you are looking to buy a pure nut butter, it's really just you know, sunflower oil is the one that's in conventional peanut butter, for example, but we really are looking at the pure form of nut butters. And when you go and source organic, there's hardly anything in there and often nothing added besides the actual just the processing of the nuts. Dairy, basically yogurt, that's just cultured milk and butter. So those are the 7 categories that we are playing around with at the moment. We have developed a form that allows us to basically look at these processes at the AgriHub themselves. But I suppose the potential for agro-processed goods in the PGS value chain is really significant and can lead to significant job creation. And in the context of our socio-economic situation in South Africa, job creation is really important. And we would love to see community-owned cooperatives really starting to participate in agro-processing effectively. But as we start to look towards what the international organic agricultural movement is doing, you know, Organic 3.0 is firmly at the forefront of that, and really understanding what a holistic value chain needs to look like to unlock these hidden opportunities for millions of smallholder farmers around the world. So this slide is quite a complex slide, but it really just shows that we are taking due care in unpacking all of the aspects around aggregated value chains and how the traceability needs to form a clear part in that whole process from farm right through to the end consumer. And when you are looking to stimulate socioeconomic enterprises through organic agriculture, you have to have a real strong handle on where your funding is coming from, your best practice, your digital operations, and of course, this is where PGS is really bolstering that process of identification, tracking, and traceability. So that's really kind of what we're juggling with at the moment, looking at digital platforms to enable the aggregator to have traceability right through, basic QR coding systems, and even in the blockchain. We're looking at all of these innovations that are available to us within the Web3 space and other technologies. The one thing that we have identified as a key catalyst in creating an aggregated value chain and agro-processing potentials are well-established agri-hubs. And now these agri-hubs are crucial, because not many farmers actually are in that position to even get their produce to market logistically with a van or a bakkie or a car. And they often don't have cold chain. So these agri-hubs are critical in catalyzing sustainable PGS value chains, and they facilitate growing operations from these agri-hubs with the clusters of farmers around, often within the geographical area of about 200 kilometers, where you can start to send the trucks out to go and collect the produce, bring it to the agri-hub for basic grading, basic agro-processing, packaging and labeling, and then of course distributing it out to market. But another thing to emphasize here is the need for extension services to be based at the agri-hub. And specific to our context in South Africa, our extension service are a little bit behind the 8 ball when it comes to organic production. So we are taking an approach of training our own extension officers, focusing on youth and women to create jobs through extension. So that's really, in a nutshell, the role of the agri-hub and how that can really play a significant catalyst role in this aggregated PGS value chain to facilitate socio-economic development. And as we know, there's massive potential for job creation in organic agriculture. And this is almost another vision that we are working on. In South Africa, you can see on the left there, we have a highly centralized food system at this point, mainly functioning around the central markets, which are very much linked to a conventional value chain. The price point is not right for small to medium holder farmers. So we want to decentralize that whole thing. And we actually are starting to move into a decentralized network. Establishing these 23 PGS groups over the last 3 years has ushered that along quite significantly. But then when you look to the third image, this is what we see manifesting over the next 10 years, is this distributed network of PGS groups and interprovincial trade from KwaZulu-Natal into Gauteng with the fruit. Similarly, so for Limpopo and Mpumalanga, Eastern Cape is the grain belt, Western Cape is mixed production. But how do we facilitate these structured value chains to actually be able to take the food where it's needed and then move the food where it's in abundance, but then there's lack in others? Often you see in the more tropical provinces like Limpopo, some of the key commodities like avocados, mangoes are hitting the floor and rotting. Meanwhile, in other parts of the country, they don't see an avocado for a year. So it's really just about how to link these supply chains together through a series of agri-hubs and PGS groups that can allow us to not only do agro-processing, but change the food system on its head. So I think with that, and also to note, we haven't quite finished the agro-processing form. It's still a work in development. But as soon as that is ready for public domain distribution, we shall make sure that we share it with the global community of practice. Thank you for your attention and your time.
Thank you very much, Matt, for this input, presenting the work underway in South Africa. I don't have any questions because I'm familiar with this content, but perhaps we have questions amongst attendees. Any questions to Matt in terms of what the sector's been doing? As you can see, there's been a lot of it being done on traceability and brand building. That's definitely a key aspect of it. And as you can see, the model in South Africa is actually really about entrusting the certification of agro-processing with the PGS group, because this participatory element is so dear to us, but there are those capacity issues coming in. So that's why I think the Benin model is also very interesting, of seeing how partnerships can be fomented to ease in this burden. Stephanie, do you want to go ahead with your question?
Merci beaucoup. Je vais poser ma question en français si ce n'est pas un problème. Donc, merci beaucoup pour la qualité de la présentation. Effectivement, on voit la volonté d'aller sur une mise à l'échelle pour pouvoir toucher un maximum de consommateurs, mais aussi de producteurs. À plusieurs reprises, l'intervenant est revenu sur l'importance en fait, que représente ce marché. En fait, j'aimerais savoir, par rapport à notre expérience à Madagascar, j'aimerais savoir, est-ce que donc justement le surcoût des produits agroécologiques représente, à quel point ça représente un enjeu? Est-ce que les produits biologiques actuellement ne sont pas des produits qui sont réservés à un marché de niche? Donc, avoir un peu plus d'éléments concernant vraiment les enjeux qui concernent le prix de vente de ces produits biologiques et leur accessibilité pour les consommateurs.
I need help with a bit of translation there, please, Sash.
Matt, sorry, were you not on your interpretation icon?
Oh, no, sorry, I didn't switch over.
Okay, just activate it now. Bottom of your screen, the little icon.
Yeah, I can do it in English, and I will be.
Yeah, okay,
Thank you,
go ahead. I was
Stephanie.
keen to convey your input, but go ahead, Stephanie. Ask the question again, then yes.
Yes. So my question was how far is it a problem to how far the cost of the organical products can be an issue for the consumers? I mean, you are focusing and targeting a large scale markets, but I was wondering regarding the capacity of the farm capacity of the consumers. How can they access easily to the product if they are more expensive than conventional products?
Yeah, very, very important question, Stephanie. You know, at this point, we're trying to really keep our prices in alignment with conventional. There's a number of producers out there that are selling at a very similar, if not lower price, depending on the market. But you know, obviously, when retailers, even the independent retailers, to get involved, there is a markup, right? So it's really a chicken and egg situation between having enough supply base in the country to structure a value chain where we can set price on a provincial level at least, and keep that price as competitive. We don't really believe that there should be a price premium, although that's a very popular thing that retailers do. They mark it up significantly, but at least in the inception on our value chain, keeping that price as competitive as possible, because not many of our consumers are even affording a general food basket at this stage, never mind ones with an organic premium on top.
Thanks for this feedback, Matt. Irene Katzeler, do you want to go ahead with your question?
Yes, I can go ahead. Thank you very much, Matt, for this presentation. It's really good to see how the PGS is developing in South Africa. Just wondering, over the years that you have been implementing PGS, have you seen any of these groups graduate into third-party certification in order to access formal retail markets? And do you think that PGS can be a very key stepping stone to prepare farmers and farmer groups into the rigors of third-party certification in order to go into third-party certification to obtain higher incomes?
Yeah, let me start with the second part of your question. It certainly does give the farmers a lot more understanding of what's required to enter third party. Whether that's immediately accessible, the answer is probably no. You know, you see this path of development with the farmer even over a 3 to 4 year period, where they enter the PGS, and I have witnessed this over the years, with very little knowledge on record keeping or maintaining your integrity around your invoices and how you pay your staff, for example. But the more that they participate in the group, the better their knowledge base gets around that. So it's definitely one of those enablers to get farmers looking toward third party. And then on your first part of the question, I haven't seen yet any groups go for group certification. I don't think we're there yet, quite frankly. But it's something certainly that would be amazing to see, these clusters of farmers in the rural areas working together around a group certification mechanism. But hopefully in the next 2 or 3 years, we can report back on that, Irene.
Okay, but do you also engage some of the third-party certifiers to inform them about these developing and evolving groups who maybe in a few years could be ready for third-party certification.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're developing quite good relationships with the local certifying bodies here. We're working quite closely with Control Union around the adoption of our standard. Inquiries are starting to run in even for third party. So we're getting there, and it's required a strong advocacy campaign, which is the thing that we're working on next, is a consumer-facing advocacy campaign that really can make people aware.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Aaron, just to complement what Matt was saying, what was developed in South Africa is the organic certification landscape, which basically provides farmers and practitioners with a step-by-step approach in terms of the different certification options that are presented to them, be it PGS or third party, and it shows a natural maturity curve in that respect. So one could argue that, you know, third party could naturally emerge for those wanting to expand the PGS certification going into the export markets. So we can share this document with you. In fact, it's on the PGS SA website. If you go to our resources, you will see this document, and perhaps this will add to what Matt was sharing.
And just while you're on that point, Sash, it seems our website is down, so we must fix that.
Been up and down. I'm really sorry. That's where all the resources are, and we're pointing everybody there. I don't know what's happening, and I know my esteemed colleague in Tatise will be fixing this up.
Cool.
Okay, thank you very much for the additional inputs.
Pleasure, Aaron. René, your hand is up. Do you want to come in with your question?
Yes, of course. Really, many thanks for this good presentation, and which for me shows how important it is that those driving PGS initiative to embrace technicity and dig deep into what is needed. So how do you make sure that you're aligned with needs of those that seek PGS certification? Yeah, it can also be that you go much higher than the needs of the people really are. Second question is what Edgar used to present is that before you give PGS certification on processed products, they also have to have like an official certification on the hygiene, so that it really can be sold. This is also, of course, a security issue, but also a legal issue. And third, as a answer to, or a thought to Irene, who asked right before, Irene, I wouldn't put PGS any less than third-party certification. Yeah, I would even say that it is more than equal in certification. It just depends on the market you need, and each certification has its own specifications behind, its own systemic behind. But third-party certification, not that much more difficult. It's a little bit more paperwork usually, but it's not really difficult to get in if you have the right people to assist you. So I wouldn't say that first do PGS and then it's wow, it's going to third-party certification. It's really either you do PGS, you tend for the local market, or you need third-party certification because you go international. So thank you, Sasha. This my questions and comments.
Yeah, thank you. And I think, René, we echo what you're saying. You know, we're certainly not saying that the third-party certification is the next step or a better step than PGS certification. We certainly recognize that there are equally valid processes. And that's why in the South African context, we used to use the term of PGS endorsement. And we intentionally decided to adopt the terminology of certification to make this point about sort of equal processes in terms of the assurance that is given.
just one comment, I think, Renee, which is really rich share that you had there. And the one piece that I just want to comment on, is making it applicable for the grassroots networks. And I think we are being very mindful of not overloading and actually trying to hold the hands of people so they can join this movement. For us, it's less about certification and more about movement building, quite frankly. And the more that we can grow these communities of practice so they can lift each other up with knowledge, it's less reliant on us as a sector body and more reliant on grassroots movements. So that's what we're aiming to achieve. But then, of course, we have to think ahead and provide all the necessary documentation for those ones who are going to be evolving at quite a rapid rate, because there's such demand for organic produce in this country. I mean, if you get your value chain organized and your production practice organized, it can really scale quite quickly. So yeah, we're just trying to think fast on our feet.
Okay, thank you very much, Matt, and all the contributors. I'm seeing that there are questions that have been dropped in the chat box, which obviously makes it a bit more challenging to address these, and some of them are in French. So I think we will need to follow up on this and upload in the source tab of PGSS's website when it's running. One word page where any outstanding questions are answered. Some of them are in French, and I think we can direct them to you. Yeah, and I see there's some controversy around what's best between PGS and third-party certification. So let us post those and just refer people to this resource, because we have to stick to our timing for this session. For the sake of the interpreters, you've been, I think, doing very good work. I've been listening in the background, so thank you very much for the interpreters for their time. And I also want to thank GIZ, Enrique, I see you were in the list of participants. A very warm thank you for making these bilingual sessions available. It has incremented the number of attendees, and we can see great contributions in both languages. So I think really this is going somewhere in advancing the PGS practice. And I think I would like to wrap in thanking all the panelists for today. Thank you very much for your inputs and for the opportunity to further network and to further connect. We will have another webinar session in 2 weeks' time, and we will be sharing the poster with a link to this within a week's time. So I think, Olawumi, you were so good with the official opening and the closures. Can I leave this to you?
Thank you so much, Shasha, and thank you to all our panelists. We're so grateful for sparing your time, especially for Jintana, spending your evening with us. We're very, very grateful for the rich experiences that you have shared. And like we've communicated, your slides will be shared in the resource page, and you might virtually probably get information or contact or email from any of the participants at any time. Please feel free to share your rich knowledge with us. And with this, we know that we'll continue to grow PGS in Africa and around the world. And the last word I want to say is that as we continue to understand more about PGS, we should focus that PGS is all about biodiversity. PGS is about diversity. It is about our food, our local food system, and for us to eat local and for us to eat healthy food locally. So on this note, I would like to say thank you to all the participants. And like Sasha said, we will see you in another 2 weeks. Goodbye and enjoy your day. Thank you.
Bye.